I'm Lucas. I'm a co-owner of Red Blue Games with my brother and Kevin.
Hey, I'm Kevin. I specialize in gameplay programming and audio for Sparklite.
So talk about your game Sparklite. What is this game all about? It's almost like a Legend of Zelda-esque type of game.
Yeah, it's a procedurally generated action adventure inspired by classic games like Zelda. You start as a genius engineer crash landing on a strange planet, and you have to use your wit and your courage to get out of your situation.
You also have like a very cute, like familiar, like helper that kind of like your Navi in a sense. Talk a little bit about that character.
Well, it's her best friend. She's a genius engineer, so she invented him, way before our story takes place, and they go on adventures together. In the beginning, he sacrifices himself to save you, so your first goal is to get him back, and no spoilers, but get him back and keep on going.
Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges in making a procedurally generated game as opposed to like a handcrafted world game?
For one thing, you have to kind of think about what the player experience is going to be when you are drawing a new card from a deck, and so that's just like one of the many examples. But you have to think about pacing, and when you have total control over it, you can start them in, and so we do things like difficulty on rooms so that you don't see a difficult room right out of the gate. And just like a ton of stuff like that. There's puzzles are a little bit harder to think about because you're going to see them over and over again. So you can't have this be a puzzle that gets boring the next time you see it. And so, I mean, that's been like the heart of some of the design challenges is making it procedural.
Yeah, that and more. I would say
engineering,
let alone that. I would say with a fixed game, we know where the player will be at a certain point, and so everything is handcrafted in that. With this, we tried to develop with that in mind, so the zones are not in really order, but we know you'll be so strong here and about this strong here, give or take, and so we can kind of predict and guide you to that, but it's no guarantee everyone will play that way.
Right.
Can you talk about a little bit about the world of Sparklite and what's going on? It's kind of a steampunky world, right?
Yeah, somebody told us colorful steampunk. It's a very gadget science oriented world. We don't have magic. Everything is gadgets. The devices act like magic. They're so technologically advanced. The world is Geodia, and it's there's a mineral called Sparklite that fuels that gives all the life to the planet, and also yields the energy that they're powering all the gadgets with. And so yeah, I think it'll feel like fantasy, but it's very science oriented.
Now, in a steampunk world, there's a lot of fun inventions. How do you go about creating those sound effects for these things that don't exist in real life?
Oh man, right now as the audio person, I make heavy use of libraries, which are metal based, watch sounds, little clicks and clacks. Various effects plugins help make them sound wacky and crazy. With something so kind of weird, it's you want to be off the wall, like the weirder the better, because it kind of gives people a more magical sense of what the world is.
Do you have a favorite sound effect in the game, and why?
Oh man, there's one where we call them epiphanies, where you test out a gadget and then you kind of reverse engineer it. And so for that, the item floats above your head and breaks apart into sparkles and then comes together as like an epiphany. Whooshes. So that one I'm like, all right, I need like whooshes and sparkles and twinkles and xylophones and just throw it all in there and make it layered, and it was really fun to make.
So is there an ending to this game? It's a story-driven experience, right? Because usually procedural generated games can go on indefinitely.
Yeah. So this is way more narrative than a typical procedural game. People won't spend 1,000 hours. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end to our game. So I think that'll help kind of make it a little more approachable. That you're not giving your life away to play our game.
Can you talk about some of the inspirations you were doing when you were creating the game?
Yeah, so we started this 5 years ago in prototyping, and so the inspirations have sort of evolved as we went. Zelda obviously was kind of a shared experience for all of us playing Zelda games, so that's without a doubt that's part of the mix. But also more contemporary games, we started out with FTL and As far as combat goes, FTL is clearly not a very good reference. So then we start talking about Bastion and
brawler games.
Yeah, brawler games, and even getting away from Legend of Zelda because it's not so modern feeling. So a lot of different references there.
Yeah. As far as the game loop, we looked a lot of like Rogue Legacy or something where we want when you die you don't lose progress, you're always like building up, and so eventually everyone will get strong enough where they can beat the game, depending on their skill level. So we wanted to keep that type of loop in mind, and there are other games that are doing that now too.
There's a lot of games, tools for developers have grown so much over these past 10 years where you can make a game out of your garage. You no longer have to rent suites out and special studios to do things. But your game's pixel art based. Is it harder to make a pixel art based in 2019 as opposed to a 3D game?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. I think we chose pixel art because in theory we could do it as programmers. There's a certain class of pixel art that programmers successfully do, or they train themselves as they go to actually be pretty good artists by the end of the project. And but that didn't exactly pan out. We hired some way better pixel artists than us, and then it elevated the art kind of outside of our abilities. And so from a workflow standpoint, there's pros and cons. It's still a fairly simple sprite. It doesn't take a lot to make a sprite, but it takes a lot to animate them, and we can't rig it or anything like that. So it's all hand animated, and we just have really good artists who somehow crank them out amazingly fast, and it ends up not affecting our production too much. But I think it is probably a more meticulous art form than a lot of kind of modern games. Like you said, I think there's a lot of modern tools that help the garage or the bedroom programmer make a one-man project that is a very complete thing. But ours is something more like a four to 6 man person project.
Yeah, pretty much what he said. Tools today are just a lot better than they used to be. Like you said, our artists can crank them out very quickly, and we're using Sprite, which is a pixel-specific program. We did some tooling on our end to help integrate that, so when they are finished, we automated the whole point of making animations, wiring up and creating all the rotations and stuff like that. So tooling across the board really helps.
Yeah, it's probably even it's probably sped up the artists too. That Sprite is a really good pixel editing tool. I don't know what they used in the 90s, but I imagine
a lot of custom stuff.
Yeah.
Now, you guys said you were brothers, right?
Not me.
Oh, but you have a brother on the team. Yeah. Does that make the development easier or harder?
Man, that's a world of...
He's going to watch this interview.
Yeah, Kevin's... it makes it easier. It also makes it harder. This is a both. We have the same shared experience, so we can name a game, and we've both played it, and that's super helpful. And our philosophies are so he's an identical twin brother too, so it's not just a brother, it's sort of a clone, and that's a good thing until you don't agree with your clone, and it's it's a little I don't know what the example is but I don't know. But in general, it's a really good thing. I wish that our skill sets weren't exactly the same. At all points in life we've done everything together, which means our diversity in skills is not there either, but it's sort of two of one of us, I don't know. Yeah. And then for Kevin, he's got to deal with brother dynamics the whole time too.
Yeah.
So when does your game come out and what platforms will it be on?
We will be out this fall on everything. Well, not mobile, but yeah, we'll be on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and Steam. Physical and digital. So, yeah.
And 5 languages. Yeah.
That's actually a big deal for an independent developer to do so many languages and launch on so many platforms.
Yeah.
We were pushed by our publisher, Merge. They really felt that was the way to launch, and they're professionals in it, so we're going with what they recommend. They helped a lot getting localized, set up, and getting us in touch with the platform, first-party platforms. So they've been a huge help in getting that done.
So where can people find more information about Sparklite?
You can find Red Blue Games on Twitter at Red Blue Games. We post all our Sparklite stuff there. We also have a webpage, a newsletter, and I think soon we might be starting up a Discord. So we'll see.